The very thing that you're running away from, God said, this is the thing that I'm going to use to restore your life and build your life back better. Don't run away from your situation. Don't run away from your problems, because God said, this is the thing that I'm going to use to bring in your success. You're going to have an amazing success stories, but you can't run from the struggle. You got to embrace the struggle. I want you all to hashtag that, embrace it. I'm not going to flee from it. I'm going to embrace this. Whatever challenge that you're facing today, that challenge may be big enough, not be big enough for you to deal with it, but it's big enough for the broadness of the shoulders of God. It may be too much for you, but God said, give me that problem. God said, give me this stuff that you are carrying. You're not meant to carry weight. God said, cast all of your cares upon him. Why did he tell us to do that? For one, God said, I care for you. Whatever you are struggling with, whatever is weighing down on your mind, whatever is bringing down you emotionally or spiritually, God said, give that stuff to me. He said, cast all of your cares. What cares do you have today? God came to take care of your care. God is going to release you from this care. I want you to know that a storm don't always last. Even the storms of life, they're not going to always last. Look at a natural storm. Think about that. How people go through natural disasters, and maybe that few minutes or however long that storm, that hurricane, or that tornado lasts, it seems like eternity, doesn't it? That's what the devil wants you to focus on. Like, this will never be over. Like, I will never overcome this. This is the end. No, it's not. This is not your ending. God said, this is how I'm going to bring about your beginning. Isn't that amazing? We serve such an amazing God. We have to look at the good, because it's so easy whenever you go through tribulations in life, when you go through storms, it's so easy for any of us to focus on everything that is going right. When you're focused on everything that is going wrong, you're going to miss those small miracles that God has given you along the way. Focus on what you have left. What you have left is enough to do what you need to get done. Doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what you're trying to do, trying to build. God say, focus on what I left you. So many people are focusing on what was taken. No, you don't focus on what was taken. You focus on what God was gracious enough to leave you behind, because whatever God has left, that's enough for you to keep building. God will never let the enemy deplete us. He won't. And if you feel depleted, you may feel depleted emotionally. You may feel depleted psychologically. But God is going to fill you. He's going to fill you right back up to the brim, where your life is going to overflow. You just got to go through the struggle. You got to go through the challenge. You got to go through the opposition. You got to go through the adversity, because this is where your strength is going to come from. This is where God is going to take the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. God is going to confuse the demons that are harassing you. He's going to confuse these demonic entities that are so sure that this last fight, that this last battle is the one that's going to take you out. No, this is the one that's going to make you great. This challenge, this one that you feel like it's going to take you out, God said nope. He said, this is the challenge that I'm going to use to make you great. God said, I will make your name great. There are people who know you that are looking for you, family, and you haven't gotten to that destination place. See, this is why you got to always pray, and you got to always have a spiritual understanding, because God is going to place the right people in your life at the right time. You needed to hear this message, because God wants you to know, stop running. Stop running. Stop being avoidant. Don't avoid the struggle. Embrace the struggle, because you're going to learn a lot of things in the struggle. And don't you understand that God is going to bring about breakthroughs in this struggle? In the midst of your struggle, in the midst of hell, God said, I'm going to bring forth such great fruit. But we have to be purged. God will cut us back. Why does God cut us back? Why does God prune us? So we can bear more fruit. So If you're bearing fruit, God is going to prune you. He's going to cut you. But he does it so graciously, how he cuts us, because he wants us to bear more precious fruit. And this is what you're doing. You're going to bear more precious fruit. Don't give up. You've come too far to give up. Don't turn around. You've come too far to go back. You know what it's like to go back. You know what your past is like. See, God doesn't want you to get familiar with your past. God wants you to get familiar with what he has for you. And what God has for you is not behind you. There is nothing behind you that God wants you to take from behind you and carry that stuff into your destiny. The only thing that you take from a past lesson is that lesson. That's it. You're not supposed to take anything else. You got to learn it. If we never learn lessons, we will always be repetitive in toxic cycles. God said that thing that you're running away from, that thing that you are fleeing from, that thing that you are avoiding, God said don't avoid this. Don't run from the challenge. Don't flee from it. God said, because this is what I'm going to use to bring restoration to your life. God is going to restore you. God is such a gracious and a merciful God. It may not look like you're going to be restored, but you are. See, the enemy wants to destroy you down so much. And what does he do? What does he do? He uses things against us. He gets in our mind. We can't allow the devil to rent free space in our head. You can't. You got to evict every vain imagination that casts itself against the knowledge of God. You got to pull that stuff down. Pull down every vain and every imagination. You got to pull down every thought that is not of God. Pull it down. Don't let it sit in your head, because if you let these negative thoughts and illusions and suggestions from the kingdom of darkness sit in the seat of your consciousness, it's going to grow. It's going to take root, and it's going to grow. You don't want negative emotions growing in the soil of your heart, nor in the subconscious or the conscious part of your mind. You don't. God said, don't run. He said, embrace it. Embrace your challenge. Don't have fear. God didn't give you that spirit of fear. If you have fear today, God didn't give you that. God said, I gave you spirit, power, and a love mind, and a sound mind. God said, I didn't give you fear. Fear comes from the enemy. Fear is an enemy to your career. Fear is an enemy to your entire life. Fear is an enemy to anything that you're trying to do that's going to be productive in your life. And that spirit of fear that you have, that fear didn't come from God. That fear came from the enemy, because the enemy knows if he can impart fear into the soul of your heart, you're not going to move. You're not going to take a step, because you're going to be afraid. And that's what the enemy wants to do. He wants you to be afraid. He wants to box you in. No, God say bust out of that box. You bust out of that box. Don't let anything confine you to a box. Don't let life confine you to a box. Don't let the negative things that you've gone through with confine you to that. That's not who you are. You are not what you've done in life that was not so good, and you're not who people think you are in a negative light. Don't allow that identity that people want to put on you if it's not of God. God say, what you running away from, what you fleeing from, what you're trying to avoid, God say, this is the thing that I'm using to build your life back better than what it was. God said, that very thing that you having a hard time embracing, God say, this is the thing that I'm going to use. Trust God. God knows what's best for you. If it don't feel like it, it don't have to feel like it. If it doesn't look like it, it don't have to look like it. You got to know your God. You got to know the character of God. You got to know the heart of God. And God did not come to harm you. He came to give you a good life. He came to give you an abundant life until it overflows. It's not God's will for you to be sad and depressed and oppressed, broke, busted, and disgusted. It's not. You got to know this. You got to know that you know that you know. Embrace whatever it is that's going on, and just pray like you're praying, and ask God to give you the strength to go through with it. You ask God to carry you through. You keep praying that prayer, and you ask God to help you trust him where you need to trust. Just like Peter. Jesus said, Peter, I prayed for you because the devil has desired to sift you like wheat. The devil has desired to sift God's children like wheat. But we have a great intercessor. We have a high priest who can be touched by the feelings of our infirmities. And his name is Yeshua. His name is Christ. And he is sitting at the right hand of the Father. Listen, family, this is amazing. Making intercession for us. He is praying for us. He is rooting for us. We have a heavenly host that is on our side, that is praying for us. And you're going to get prayed through. You got natural people in this world praying for you. You have real intercessors who care about your life and what you got going on, praying for you. So you're not alone. Even though you feel lonely right now, possibly, you're not alone. God said, I'll never leave you. He said, I'll never forsake you. Embrace whatever it is that you're going through with, because this is what God is going to use to bring forth restoration and a newness in your life. Jump over to my Instagram at Nikki G McCray and give me your support over there. Don't y'all get scammed on this channel. You see the scammers? You know anything that you need to know about Prophetess Nikki, it's always in the description box of our videos. Thank you for your seed offers that you're giving. Remember, PayPal or Cash App, only send it as a donation or a gift. Do not send it any other way. You can name your seed, but you got to put in there a donation or a gift, or we're going to return it back to you. Okay? Embrace this difficulty. Embrace your challenge, because this is what God is going to bring. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, blessing into your life. You haven't seen the best of your life yet. The worst is behind you, and your better is in your latter day. Hashtag that. We'll talk later. Bye-bye.